Hey, welcome back to the Joy and Resilience Practice, helping you thrive one story at a time. Today is episode 4, Boundaries Without Guilt. I'm Mike Cameron. Today we're talking about one word that can make even the most confident people uncomfortable. Boundaries. Not walls, not shutting people out, not becoming less caring. Boundaries. Because boundaries don't push people away. Healthy boundaries help us stay present with the people who matter most. Without them, our capacity slowly disappears. Many of us were taught that saying yes meant being kind. That saying no meant letting people down. But maybe saying no to one thing is actually saying yes to something that matters more. If you've ever agreed to do something and immediately hoped the other person would cancel, you're not alone. We've all been there. Today, we're exploring how boundaries help protect our joy, our relationships, and our resilience. Let's get into it. Today, I'm joined by Bridget Havercroft, someone who has learned that boundaries aren't barriers. They're invitations to healthier relationships. Together, we're exploring how protecting our time, energy, and capacity actually helps us show up more fully. Good afternoon, Bridget. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for inviting me to here. I've been sort of following the Joy and Resilience quietly.
Oh, that's awesome.
While also, as you know, going through my own struggles.
Yes.
So I'm really, really excited to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me to talk about that.
I'm so glad you came, and when I'm going through the topics, this is one that I said, I think I need to reach out to Bridget. She can probably give her experience.
Yeah.
So Bridget, before we start our conversation, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you want to share?
Sure. So obviously from my accent, that might give it away. I'm originally from the UK.
No way.
Yeah, I know, right?
And by the way,
yes.
I have you here during Wimbledon. I'm a big tennis fan.
Oh my goodness! Are we watching? Do we have a score? Do we know? Okay. And by the way, if the World Cup's playing and England are on, I'm going to have to cut you short.
You're going to have to leave. That's right.
Yeah. Those are the only two things I would actually, cancel something for. Right. Exactly. I'm not a big sports fan, but those two. And funny enough, little segue, actually, when I lived in London, I lived in a little place right next door to Wimbledon. And whenever they were playing, and whoever was playing, and there was, a win to the most popular, you could hear the cheers.
Roar.
Oh, it was, something else. But I've never actually been,
I got to go once when I graduated high school. Did you? Yeah, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm from England. I'm actually originally from Sheffield in Yorkshire, which is, as we say, up north.
Up north.
That's
the
north.
accent. I love that.
Right, yes, I'm from up north. And funny enough, found my way, after a couple of moves within Nova Scotia, found my way living in Sheffield Mills.
Sheffield again, yes.
And I love the Mills. That definitely found where my heart and my soul belongs, that's for sure. Yeah. But along that route, getting there, I have had various roles. I started out my career as a model.
Oh, right, yes.
Worked that for a good 10 years. And then I worked for a communications company, learnt the art of customer service. In a very, very one-on-one dealing with customers face-to-face, which was very, very interesting and quite demanding, and also sometimes dangerous. I had my life threatened a couple of times.
Oh, Lord. Yes.
I know, there's different stories there, but we'll move swiftly on. And then, so I've worked in architecture, not as an architect, but as an office manager. I've also worked for a firm of accountants, a design agency, an advertising agency. Right. So there's been somewhere along the lines, there's been some element of creative there.
Right. It seems to be a thread through that too, yes.
Customer service and creativity, I would say. But you don't know you're doing that until you get to the other side and you realize the path you've taken. Because believe it or not, I never set out for any one of those roles. I never have a goal of which I want to achieve something, because I think I grew up, rightly or wrongly, I grew up with the belief that it's about the journey you're taking, not the actual end result when you get there. And I actually never had that desire of the end result. I've always loved the idea of the journey that it takes to get there. And so I really do celebrate that. And then when I moved here...
Yes. So that was all UK?
That was mainly in the UK based.
Okay.
And then when I moved here at the age of just before I was 40, I worked for an insurance company. I then also worked for a bank. And in between, I discovered that my love of photography had it had a following. People loved my landscape work. So I dabbled a little bit.
Another avenue of creativity.
Yeah,
too, right?
I did. I started printing off landscape prints, and I would sell them at craft markets. And in fact, Wheaton's for a while used to sell my artwork. And then I became a full-time stepmother for a good few years, which was incredibly challenging. If anybody is or has been a stepmother, they'll understand
where you're coming from.
Yes, I don't need to explain any more on that one. And so there was a little bit of a hiatus, and then back in 2016, I decided, I really want to make a go of this because I'd started to get a following. So I branched out, let's say. I started doing pet photography.
Oh, so
and that
pets,
was where
I've
always been a huge animal lover, and it was before we actually got a dog. So that was my way of kind of getting my pet best out. Yes. And then eventually I got a dog, Blue. He was my Weimaraner and my heart dog.
Okay, right, yes.
And then we got Charlie. So you have one dog that is the proper dog, and then you have another dog that's your problem child.
Oh, right.
He was our problem child, but the two of them were so comical. And I started to get a following of what I would post,
what your dogs
were up to.
Yes.
And eventually people say, well, can you do humans as well? And of course I can. And then it just branched, and then it was weddings, and then it was this, and it was that.
So a full gamut. You've been
then
through
it was
a whole
the full
gamut.
gamut.
Yeah, okay.
And along the way, life changed things, and so I needed to encourage a bit more with my life. So I did actually go and get my real estate license because I'd worked with a few realtors here in the Valley in taking both corporate headshots and doing real estate photography. So I went to work with McKay Real Estate in Wolfville, and I had been working with them for the last 2 and a bit years, and the most amazing team I've ever worked with. The most family-oriented, fabulous team of people. And then life gave me a crushing blow, and I went through a divorce, which I'm still going through. And so I had to then re-navigate where that was taking me.
Right, another pathway.
Another pathway. And, I'm not afraid to say I went through a severe bout of depression. I've had ailments, I've had surgeries, I've had injuries. It's been probably the worst 3 years of my life.
Right, lots of struggle, it sounds like.
Lots of struggle, but in doing so, it's a bit like the phoenix and the flame. I've come out of that so different, so changed, so much more resilient, and full of joy.
Oh, good.
Because I had to do so much soul searching. And you don't know you're in it at the time until you come out of it. And then when you come out of it and you look back and you go, holy, I'm not going to swear balls.
Don't get Alex doing that. I don't want Alex having to cut stuff.
I know. It's like, look where I've come. Look what I've achieved.
Right.
So that's kind of brought me to today, where I'm now also a fashion stylist for a fabulous designer right here in Nova Scotia, Lisa Drader Murphy.
Right.
She has her Halifax store, which I'm working from 3-4 days a week. I'm still doing my photography.
Okay, so you do have both avenues going. Okay.
But I did actually... I didn't renew my real estate license because I think both myself and the team at McKay realised I needed to focus on earning some money in a very regular basis, and anyone who is a real estate agent knows that's not always easy to do.
Right.
So it was a good transition for all of us, and it's worked out really, really well. I'm absolutely loving it.
So
I'm bringing everything together.
Yeah, it sounds
so
like
I have my creativity, my modeling, the fact that with my photography, I know how to make people move. I know how to dress people. It brings on my love of fashion, the jewelry, everything together. But at the same time, I find I'm still helping people emotionally, and that's a really crazy thing. People don't realize when you are dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, those very small interactions in a positive way can make a huge impact.
Yeah, so you get to use your creativity, your experience, and being a real estate agent prior to moving into this,
Yeah.
you are in people's lives directly. So this
Totally.
is another avenue of using your listening skills
Absolutely.
and sharing skills.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I'm feeling myself blossom into the Bridget I never knew I was going to be, but always knew I wanted to be.
The Bridget I never knew. So you've just made me remember, I wanted to ask you about the not so invisible woman dispatches. Can you talk to me about that a little bit as part of the boundary pieces?
Sure. And it kind of came from the very fact that throughout the divorce, as painful as it was, there were parts of myself that I recognize I was responsible for in the breakdown of the marriage. I did a lot of soul searching, as I said, and one of the best books that I ever listened to, and if I can give her a plug, I would gladly do so. Brené Brown, The Power of Vulnerability.
Yes,
one of the most amazing books. I listened to the audiobook because she narrates it, and it's the most amazing audiobook that I'd ever listened to.
Yes.
And in fact, I've listened to it twice and gone back to certain chapters again, because when you listen to it the first time, there's so much you're taking in, there's a lot. And then you go, okay, let me just go back to that piece, because that piece really spoke to me and I really want to listen to that.
Yeah, and her work around shame and where guilt and fear lie is amazing.
Well, I carried so much guilt and shame through stepmotherhood, through being married, through anything that any woman does in any part of her life, because without actually saying and setting we women apart from you men, we are taught things from day one about our bodies. We're taught from day one not to behave a certain way because that's not what women do or girls do. We are also expected to be the nurturer of a family unit. Even when we're at school, the cliquey clubs and the way that women can, or girls can be, and you want to belong, you find yourself either shrinking or altering yourself.
Yes.
So this is where it came from, the idea that I had shrunk over so many years, the personality that I remembered I had when I was preteen and going into my teens before I actually hit puberty, right? I remember the tomboy that I was. I grew up with 3 brothers, and I remember the joie de vivre, the joy of freedom that I had, and that eventually had shrunk.
Right.
And so with the power of vulnerability and the chapters that Brené wrote about with the idea of the shame and the guilt that we carry, how that shrinks us because we just accept it on our shoulders as so, yes, it's my fault. So all the things that happened to me being a stepmother and being a wife, anytime something happened, I took the blame for over time, that I then believed that hype to be real. So in letting go some of the things that I had no control of, and that's a huge thing that I have a little mantra of. If you don't have any control over something, you have to let it go. If it's within your control, if it's within your remit and you can do something about it, do so. But if you can't, do not sit there feeling woe is me, or playing the victim.
You still have a choice.
You still have a choice to say, you know what, I don't have control over that. I have to let that go. And so over time, as I was transitioning through being married and expecting the dreams that we'd planned for to then still happen and be in the fruition of no longer happening, I had to have another outlook on life. Where am I? I'm about to hit 60. Where am I suddenly positioning myself in life? So suddenly the idea of no longer shrinking to fit was kind of...
I like that phrase.
It just sort of came out of nowhere. And so when I started talking about it on social media, I started getting people recognizing that within themselves, not necessarily divorce. People who have had huge losses, their husband pass away, or a child pass away, or not even a loved one, just losing people within their lives, that has created a closure within themselves. How people have shrunk. And now when we go through those incredibly hard moments and we have to challenge ourselves, can I push through? Can I see my life beyond where I'm at right now? Can I stop being a victim? Can I stop shrinking? And can I see myself as the beautiful person that I can be? Both men and women.
Right. And you've hit on a couple of things there that I often talk about. Being, society tells you to be nice when, I don't know, nice can be very superficial and just placate somebody.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd rather you be kind, because sometimes in being kind, I might tell you something that's uncomfortable, but I'd rather tell you that than tell you that, and it. Right. You can feel that from many people.
Oh, my goodness,
people sense that from another. Are you giving me a genuine compliment, or is it the "How are you?" and I'm just walking by, or is it Bridget? How are you? There's two different things,
the inflection in your voice.
Right. There's two different things.
It's not what you say; it's how you say it.
Right, and what's coming at you, and you've also hit on. I've heard boundaries within that discussion, because taking it all in, armoring up. Building on your armor, because yes, it's all me, which, like you said, if you have the capacity, the space, somebody to bounce stuff off of.
Right.
Is it really all you? Is it?
I know.
I don't know. All the time,
I've had to learn to let some of the things go. And that was hard, because I still carry a huge amount of guilt with things that happened as a stepmother, which I think most mothers, stepmother or not, most mothers carry guilt for issues that may have arisen with their children. And so there's no textbook. There's no, this is what you do when you have children, right?
You don't get handed one that I know of.
You just make it up as you go along. And, of course, there's inherited support with family, being grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever.
Those around you.
I had no support here. I was the only one.
Because you're here from the UK.
And it wasn't like the children went to school and met a load of friends whose parents I then connected with as they grew up.
Right. Yeah.
So I had no network.
No network.
So I was very much on my own. And when I went through a soul-searching time of what I had control over and what I didn't, the guilt and shame I carry are the things that I had control over.
Right.
But I've let a lot go that I had no control over.
You've been able to work through it or figure ways to.
And so those boundaries have arisen from that.
Yes.
And learning to say no.
Right. Because that was what I was going to say. Every yes costs something.
Yes.
And protecting your peace isn't selfish. That's what I've heard.
Oh my
little
goodness.
Tidbits as you're talking through.
The word selfish as well is such a huge thing. I'm glad to say that I'm way more selfish now than I've ever been. And I'm proud of that, because I'm protecting my peace. And the word boundaries, when I first heard boundaries coming into our everyday existence, because boundaries was to me a negative sense.
Correct.
Like it felt trapped.
Yeah.
Like you were being trapped by some sort of invisible boundary. And I'm very energy centric, by the way. So going back to what you were saying about,
interactions
with people. I very much can walk into a room, judge the atmosphere, judge the energy, and adopt mine accordingly.
On that point, hold on for 1 second. You just made me think of something too.
Yes.
Have you had that when you've walked in and wait a second, were they talking about me?
Oh my God, loads of times.
No, not necessarily in a bad way.
No, but I honestly, again, going back to shrinking.
Yeah.
Going back to school, anywhere where there were groups of people, I'd walk out the room and immediately go, oh, they were talking bad stuff about me. I just know they were.
Yeah.
You started taking on that negative sense. And now I'm beginning to say, so what?
Right.
That's on them, not me.
Right. And even if it's a thought your brain's making you have, you're like, okay, let's...
if they are talking about me, hey, that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's good or bad, I left an impression somewhere down the line.
Whatever way it is.
I know, right?
So why do you think, Bridget, in what you're telling me in the answer, and I think I cut you off, so if you want to jump back.
That's okay.
Why do you think boundaries feel uncomfortable? Because that's what you were hitting on.
I know.
Why do you think they
the
do
negative
feel?
connotation?
Yeah.
Because it's restrictive.
Restrictive.
So I have what they call a long form way of communicating. when I tell something, it's in the form of a story.
Right, storytelling.
So I cannot help but add some beginning, middle, and end. I can't just say...
You can't say, Bridget, edit it. Go like, no.
There's always something within it that actually creates the story, that gives it more resonance or gives it more actual reality. And I kind of, in my last 20 years, have had that curtailed. Everybody kept saying to me, Bridget, move on. Can you hurry up? So in that in itself was restricting who I was. So the boundaries of allowing somebody to speak versus not allowing somebody to speak, that cut me down.
Just shrinking. Yeah.
All the time.
Just shrinking.
And so now with my dispatches of the Not So Invisible Woman, I'm actually putting things out there as I feel them. Mm-hmm. As I feel them, I mull them over in my head and I figure out the negativity of it and how it affected me. Then I use the phrase, I flip the coin.
Right.
I always flip the coin
Changing
now on
the
something.
Paradigm. Yeah.
Always. It's the yin and the yang. It's the plus and the minus. If anyone's an accountant, it's the debits and the credits.
The debits and the credits.
And it's the way I look at life. I always try and flip the coin and see if somebody's telling me a negative connotation of something, and I know it's affecting them, I will say, can we just flip the coin a second? So to give you an example, now I do coaching as well. And I am not a clinical, qualified coach with a title or letters after my name. Yep. I want to quickly clarify that. Yep. I am, however, a life experienced, many time over coach. And I actually have a few clients. And one of my clients that comes to me, we talk about the way that we flip the coin. And she once said to me the word about hating something about herself. And I think I've been there too. I've kind of, something's happened and I've hated what I've done, or I've hated the reaction that came from that. And I said, can we not use the word hate? Can we find a better word? And in that discussion, we found the word disappointed. And I think it's okay to say, it's okay to say you're disappointed in yourself for the way you behaved or the way you let something change you. You can say, I'm disappointed.
Right.
You can say what somebody did to you. I'm disappointed that you chose to do that. Mm-hmm. It's a huge difference. And that to me is how I look at life.
Right.
Is let's find a way of somebody's struggling. You don't need to go and fix it, but can we find a way that'll help them see it in a different way?
Right.
And that's where it came from.
Yeah, and that's lovely. And I'm hearing a couple of things there. It's the... many times you've been on lots of committees and and groups and whatnot. And when you say, someone hurry up, I think we're all into the got to instantly respond.
Yes.
You have to do this. And this doesn't happen. Listening.
Right. Stop listening.
Right?
Yep.
People are ready to respond.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're partway through what you're telling. Had I finished listening, two things might have happened.
Right.
You might have answered a question I possibly had for you. And secondly, I might have actually learned what you were going to tell me had I just waited another... Because sometimes you're not going to talk for 25. It may be 3 more minutes you were trying to tell your thing, I would think.
And it could also completely change that person's opinion of what they thought you were about to say.
Had they just listened.
Because I might start off the story with the negativity of something, but it spun around and ended in a positive way. Or it can be vice versa.
Just walking through it.
Right? Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I am not perfect. In fact, I am terrible at interrupting people because I have a really bad memory for remembering detail. So when somebody says something that to me needs a response there and then, or needs that, well, can we just actually stop there? And I'm terrible. I am not proud of that. I am not proud of that.
Reframe that.
How
would you reframe that?
Right. I am terrible. I'm owning it. Let's just say I have a bad habit of interrupting. But like you, can I just stop you there for a moment? Because I want to act on that point.
Yeah, I want to add on right now.
Right?
Yeah.
So and by the time you've got to an end of a conversation, I'll have forgotten.
Right.
And I knew it was a pertinent point.
For that moment, yeah.
Right. So, again, growing up for 20 years in a dynamic where I wasn't allowed to do that. So I was never allowed to free fall or free flow my voice.
And that's what became familiar to you. That became your pattern.
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
And I grew up with, one of my brothers is a lawyer, right? You can imagine the Sunday table. My mum and I were the only females in the house. My mum was the one that would learnt as well. I learnt from her, and my grandmothers, who are very, very learnt to be quiet. You never spoke at the table unless you were spoken to.
Oh,
so
that phrase,
my brothers would have these healthy debates, and I try and join in. And by the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm shrinking down. I'm shrinking down my seat. And
were you actually physically?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could literally feel myself melt into the chair.
Oh, wow.
And to this day, I remember I was at my niece's wedding. So this is my brother's daughter. I was photographing her wedding last year. And it was one of the first times where we all sat down together, the three of us. I lost one of my brothers, went quite young, but the three of us sat down together. And it felt one of the most healthy relationships of conversation.
Oh, okay.
Because they saw the value of what I did. They watched me be a photographer and be in charge and be in control. Before, they'd only ever see me with somebody with no academic skills, right? Mm-hmm. So they didn't value my equality to the same as theirs.
Yeah, the equity of
And once they saw me in control and run the whole shebang, as far as taking photographs at a wedding
and
can be.
Arranging and doing the thing, yes.
It changed the whole dynamic, and we have the most closest relationship now. And it's really strange that it took that many years.
It took a long time, hey?
Right. They saw me in my element, and
changed the paradigm.
Totally.
So with that, how do you think boundaries support sustainable capacity then, Bridget?
Well, I think boundaries, first of all, we need to perhaps figure out a different word. Or a way of saying it where it feels healthy and not just a negative connotation. Mm-hmm. And we need to somehow take away, to me, it's protection. Somebody is protecting their space or their peace or their energy. Yeah. Okay? So in a sense, because my energy can be big or small, sometimes I don't have boundaries, and that's okay. I'm very healthy that way. Yeah. But then when I do need to protect my peace, because I give off a lot of energy, I receive a lot of energy, I get to a point where, and this is what I call where I take my batteries out.
Yes, I was thinking recharging as you were talking.
Right?
Yeah.
And I often have to use visual aids to help people understand their own limitations, because sometimes people don't realize how to interact with their own limitations.
Yep.
So
communication piece.
Another way of communicating to your loved ones when you're having a quiet moment and they're thinking what's wrong with you, to be able to say to them, all it is, my batteries have run out, they're on charge. While they're charging, I'm not speaking, I've shut down, I'm not doing the laundry, I'm not cooking the dinner.
I'm an iPhone 6 and I'm already at 10%. Right? Leave me alone.
Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we go back to capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been talking to people about capacity recently. So if you are a person that generally has 100% charge, you've got 100% capacity, and that can last you 24 hours, then that energy can be eked out for a good 24 hours pretty evenly. But if you're a person through brain injury or mental health issues or a disability, is living on 10% capacity for 24 hours, how do you then help that person? Do you come into the room all guns blazing, full of energy, full of joie de vivre, and say, right, let's go to it, let's go and do something? And you wonder why that person then says, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.